And the winner of this year's award is...
The announcer lifted both hands, stretching the moment as the crowd held its breath.
Johan Favre.
The crowd erupted. Applause thundered into the night.
Today, we honor the one who bears the weight of us all.
He declared solemnly.
It was written long ago that in every generation, one among us would rise, a man strong enough to carry what others cannot.
As Johan stepped forward, the people cheered, but their eyes weren't on his face. They were on the great massive weight strapped to his back, bulging sacks, thick ropes, layers upon layers of burdens stacked high. Some wept openly at the sight. Others bowed their heads in reverence. Johan grinned, and his chest swelled. This was the moment he had lived for all year. He steadied himself, shifting under the familiar burden.
Johan, we love you!
They cried, blowing him kisses. A little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve.
Mama, why do we carry weights? And why does Mr. Johan have to carry so much?
Her mother knelt beside her, whispering,
Because that is the way of things, Ella. It has always been so. We carry the weight of our sins.
Mama, is Mr. Johan's back supposed to bend like that?
Ella continued, worried lines forming on her face. The mother hushed her.
Shh. He is strong, child. Stronger than any of us. That is why he carries the weight for most of us.
Johan pressed forward, determined to reach the podium without stopping. But after a few more steps, a familiar ache flared in his lower back. He clenched his jaw. He couldn't take another step. Johan paused, glancing around as if the stop had been part of his grand entrance. He couldn't see the burden strapped to his back, but he felt every ounce of its weight. Turning slightly, he waved, buying himself a few precious seconds of relief. When he moved again, his steps were slower and more deliberate. When he reached the podium, his legs trembled, threatening to betray him. Thankfully, a chair awaited him. He sank into it, letting it absorb the load he carried, then lifted his hand again, waving to the ecstatic crowd.
You will all agree,
The announcer began, his voice ringing with admiration,
that Johan truly deserves this honor. He has been the most self-sacrificial, the most beloved, the ultimate team player, a man who serves this community with unwavering dedication. For that, Johan Favre, we present this medal as a token of our deepest appreciation for all you do, for us and the children of this town.
The applause grew louder.
I am honored to serve this community, and I thank you for this.
Johan said, lifting the silver medal for all to see.
This is for you all. Thank you.
Later that evening, his mother walked in to find him hunched over, one hand kneading his lower back, the other pressing against his throbbing head.
Johan,
She murmured. She eased herself onto the edge of his bed.
Mother,
His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. The lantern's glow cast deep shadows on his face. Silent tears streamed down her face as she watched him, her heart breaking for the son who had given so much.
this has got to stop. You can't keep doing this. You're suffering under all this weight. You must.
Johan let out a sigh, shaking his head.
Mother, You know what the prophecy says.
The prophecy.
She echoed bitterly.
Did the prophecy ever say you had to die under it?
Johan's fingers tightened against his temples.
This is what I was chosen for.
Johan, you are my son, not a sacrifice.
Her voice wavered.
Who do you think wrote that prophecy? The elders? The priest? The same people who never carry any weight themselves.
Johan clenched his jaw.
I know you don't believe in it.
I believe in the one true king,
She said softly.
not the men who twist his words.
For a moment, doubt flickered in Johan's eyes, but only for a moment.
I need to rest.
He muttered. His mother sighed. She knew there was no arguing with him, but she pressed on.
Why don't you give the weight to the angels?
Johan's eyes darkened. He shot her a stern look, his jaw tightening. Then, just as quickly, his shoulders slumped. He let out a slow, weary sigh of his own.
I told you, Mother, that will never happen. The angels are evil. They make you weak. I will carry my weight myself.
Johan said, the conviction in his words at odds with the exhaustion in his body. The next morning, Johan woke early to prepare for work. Over the past 2 months, he had adjusted his routine, adding 2 extra hours to his mornings. The earlier start gave him time to navigate the journey at his own pace and allowed him to avoid the bustling streets. Fewer people meant fewer stares, whispers, and chances of colliding with anyone. Johan made it to work just in time, easing himself onto his worn wooden stool. A row of unshaped clay sat beside his wheel, waiting for his hands. He ran a calloused finger over one of the lumps. The shift from 10 pots daily to 5 made life more bearable. Slowly, he pressed his foot against the wheel's pedal. The clay spun, wobbling slightly. He braced his arms, steadying it, but the strain sent a sharp pang through his back. Johan inhaled through clenched teeth, forcing his hands to remain firm.
Hello, Johan.
Kuman, a tall, lanky man, said as he stepped into the shop, a small brown sack slung over his back.
Hello, brother.
Johan replied, not looking up from the pot he was working on.
Give me just a few minutes, and I will be with you.
Johan set the last pot atop the finished pile and braced his hands against the table. With a slow, deliberate push, he forced himself upright. His joints protested instantly. He winced, but held his ground.
Are you okay, man?
Kuman asked, stepping forward with a hand outstretched.
I'm fine.
Johan said, waving him off.
Just the back pain.
You should get that looked at.
Yeah, maybe I should.
They slowly crossed the street to the small restaurant where they ate lunch every day. Johan lowered himself carefully. He winced, gritting his teeth.
This is weighing on you.
Kuman said.
Are you still taking on more weights?
A fleeting silence stretched between them, heavy and unspoken, during which time the waiter brought their usual.
I took some last week.
Johan finally said.
Ella, a little girl, and her mother came into my shop. The girl, she couldn't have been more than 2, already had the weight on her back.
His face softened at the memory. Kuman frowned.
That young?
Johan nodded.
It was small, but it bent her over, making her wobble when she walked. Her mother could barely look at me when she brought her in. I felt sorry for her and her mother, so I offered to take it away. You should have seen her face when she was free. One moment, she was hunched over, struggling to take a step. The next, her back straightened, her feet steady. She jumped up and down, laughing, then skipped down the street, I then took the mother's as well.
A few silent minutes passed as they ate, the warmth of the meal settling over them like a brief truce.
Oh, I'm full.
Johan finally said, pushing his plate away.
Brother, you've barely touched your food.
I can't eat much at once.
Johan admitted.
It makes it harder to move.
Kuman sighed deeply. Later that evening, as he locked up his shop, he caught a sight of a familiar figure skipping toward him. It was Ella from last week, her mother trailing a few steps behind. The moment she spotted him, she ran straight into his arms, wrapping him in a tight hug. Johan's heart swelled, the joy of her embrace momentarily lifting the burden on his back.
Oh, my dear Ella, how are you?
Johan asked, his voice warm.
I am very well, Mr. Johan. And how are you?
She replied, still gripping his hand. Before he could answer, she bounced on her toes. Ella skipped toward him, beaming.
Mr. Johan, guess what?
Johan grinned, despite the ache in his spine.
What, my dear Ella?
Tomorrow is my birthday.
She giggled, bouncing on her toes.
Mama says I can invite anyone I want, so I'm inviting you.
Johan's smile froze.
There will be cake and music, and I told all my friends you'd come.
She went on, clutching his sleeve in excitement. Then she pointed.
See? That's my house.
Johan followed her finger, his stomach twisted. It was small, the doorway was narrow, the ceiling low. He knew he wouldn't fit, not with the weight. Ella kept talking, oblivious to his hesitation.
You'll come, right?
His throat tightened. He forced a smile, shifting his shoulders as if adjusting the burden.
Oh, Ella, I would love to. But I don't think I'll be able to make it.
The light in her eyes flickered.
But I told everyone you'd be there.
Her voice was smaller now, her fingers unclenched from his sleeve. A breath of silence. Then, slowly, she turned to her mother and buried her face in her dress. Johan wanted to reach for her, to kneel, to explain, to promise he would find a way, but the weight on his back wouldn't let him bend. Her mother met Johan's eyes, a look of quiet understanding passing between them, then gently took her daughter's hand and led her away. Johan watched them go, his chest tightening with guilt. The weight on his back suddenly felt unbearable, pressing down with relentless force. His knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the cold ground. That night, he wept. Ella's disappointed face played over and over in his mind, haunting him. Why was he doing this?
Johan!
The distressed cry jolted him awake.
Mother, what's wrong?
He tried to get up quickly, but his weight pinned him to the bed. Gritting his teeth, he pushed himself up again, slowly, deliberately, until he finally managed to stand. He moved as fast as he could toward his mother's room, calling her name with every step, his mind racing with worst-case scenarios. When he reached the door, he found her curled up on the bed, hugging herself. Her face was pale, her breathing uneven.
My chest hurts.
She whispered. Johan hurried to her side.
I'm sorry. Did it just start?
He placed a hand on her forehead and felt the fever burning through her skin. Sweat beaded along her brow.
You're burning up. We need the healer.
But
Her voice wavered.
the healer lives in the next town, and he only comes in the morning.
I know where he lives.
Johan said without hesitation.
I'll go and fetch him.
But it's dark outside. How will you?
You are all I have, Mother. I have to do what I have to do.
She exhaled shakily,
Be careful.
As slow as he was, Johan moved back and forth between the kitchen and his mother's room, fetching a cold, wet towel and a cup of water. He placed them gently by her side, his hands lingering for a moment before he straightened. Then, without another word, he turned and stepped out into the night, setting off toward the next village. Johan tried to quicken his pace, but the weight on his back made even that impossible. Each hurried step sent a sharp, searing pain through his spine, forcing him to stop and catch his breath. The lantern in his hand cast flickering light onto the empty road ahead. There was no one in sight, no voices in the distance, no footsteps to call out to for help, only the cold night air and the sound of his labored breathing. His head throbbed, his heart pounded.
What if I don't make it in time? What if she's already gone before I even reach the healer?
His thoughts crashed over him, relentless and merciless, until fresh, hot tears spilled down his face. He didn't wipe them away. He couldn't. All he could do was keep walking.
It will be all my fault because of this weight. I will lose my mother.
The thought crushed him even more than he could burden on his back. He reached the base of the hill where the road sloped upward. Gritting his teeth, he tried to climb. One step, another, but the weight yanked him backward.
No, not now.
He pushed forward again, but the burdens twisted, shifting like a cruel, living thing. The ropes burned into his shoulders. His knees buckled, his vision blurred. His legs gave out. He tumbled down, landing hard on his belly as the lantern slipped from his grasp, rolling far into the darkness. Then, the sky split open. Rain poured down in torrents, drenching him instantly, cold and merciless.
I've failed.
He cried out, his voice swallowed by the storm.
I am tired. I am tired and I can't do this anymore.
His fist pounded the muddy ground.
I have lost everything. Everyone that's important to me. I have tried to be good, but I can't.
His sobs were lost in the thunder, in the sheets of rain beating down on his broken, trembling body. Johan lay there, his chest rising and falling in ragged, uneven breaths. He couldn't move. He couldn't fight anymore. This was the end. The rain softened, as if responding to his surrender, its fierce roar quieting to a gentle patter. Then, through the stillness, a voice, calm, steady, undeniable, cut through the dark.
I can help you.
Johan's breath caught.
You were never meant to carry this.
Who's there? Who are you?
Johan rasped, his voice barely carrying over the fading rain. He turned his head, blinking through the wet haze. A figure emerged in the dim light, blurry at first, like a mirage in the storm. But as it stepped closer, its form sharpened. The figure stood tall, both human-like and divine, radiating an undeniable presence. Its robe shimmered like liquid light, flowing as though woven from the dawn itself.
I am an angel, a messenger of the one true king. Your mother knows me well. Let me help you.
With that, the angel spread its wings. Johan's breath hitched.
But perhaps just take some of it.
He said hesitantly.
Who would I be without the weights?
The angel stepped closer, warmth radiating from his presence.
You are Johan, son of the one true king.
He said, his voice steady and sure.
And that is enough.
Johan trembled, the words unraveling something deep inside him. For the first time, he felt the crushing burden for what it truly was. Not his duty, not his identity, just a weight he had never been meant to bear.
Okay,
He gasped, his voice breaking.
take it. I surrender.
The angel knelt beside him, and Johan felt it. First a shift, then a sudden, breathtaking release. The weight that had been his constant burden was gone. His back no longer ached. His head no longer throbbed. He twisted his torso, testing the impossible freedom.
Now, get up.
The angel said. Johan hesitated, then reached for the outstretched hand. The moment their fingers met, warmth flooded through him. Radiant, overwhelming, and alive. It coursed through his limbs, washing away years of strain and pain. He stood and realized just how small he was compared to the angel. He looked at him in awe. For the first time in years, he stood tall. He rolled his shoulders, stretched, then, on impulse, jumped. And he laughed. He was weightless, finally free.
Now, go home to your mother and never forget what the king did for you this day.
The angel. Johan's eyes blurred with tears.
Thank you.
He breathed. Then, suddenly remembering, he jolted upright.
Wait, my mother. She's sick. I have to get to the healer's house.
The angel's serene gaze held his.
Your mother has been healed of her broken heart. Go home and be with her.
Johan's chest tightened, but this time it wasn't with pain. It was with awe.
Thank you so much. I will live my life in the goodness of the one true King.
The angel smiled, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Johan grabbed what remained of his lantern and sprinted home, his feet barely touching the ground. A day later, Johan knocked on the door of the little hut, shifting on his feet. He still wasn't used to standing so tall. The door flew open.
Mr. Johan?
The little girl gasped, her eyes round with shock. Her mother covered her mouth, tears welling up.
You came!
The little girl squealed and grabbed his hand. This time, Johan moved with her easily, stepping through the doorway without ducking, without squeezing sideways. Inside, many children sat on the floor, legs crossed, giggling as they passed a plate loaded with slices of cake. Johan hesitated.
Come on!
The girl tugged his hand. Slowly, he lowered himself, crossing his legs just like the children. Silence followed. Then, cheers erupted. The children all got up and ran to throw their arms around him. Johan's initial shock melted into heartfelt laughter. For the first time in years, he wasn't just serving others. He was with them. And this, too, was his freedom. The end.